The piano arrived on my 7th birthday, a gleaming Steinway Model B that took 6 men to maneuver into our living room. My grandmother, a concert pianist in her youth, had left it to me in her will with specific instructions. For Sarah, so her gift doesn't die like mine did. By 15, I'd proven her faith justified. Carnegie Hall, the Young Artists Showcase. A standing ovation from 2,000 people who'd come to hear prodigies play, and I'd been the finale. The Times called me a generational talent whose interpretation of Chopin brings tears to the most hardened critics. By 17, I had a full scholarship to Juilliard waiting. My teacher, Mrs. Petrova, had connections everywhere. Recording contracts were being discussed. Management firms circled. My future was a straight line from practice room to concert hall. Then Jake wrapped his truck around a telephone pole, drunk at 19, and everything changed. He survived barely. The truck didn't. And suddenly, my brother needed wheels more than I needed ivory keys, at least according to my parents. He has to get to work, Mom explained, as if I didn't have 3 jobs to pay for sheet music and competition fees. You can practice at school. The school has uprights. I need. Music is a hobby, not a future, Dad interrupted. Jake needs practical help. That piano's worth $40,000. More than enough for a new truck and his DUI fines. That piano is mine. Grandma left it to me. You're 17. We're your guardians. We decide what's best. I came home from my shift at the diner to find an empty living room. Just indentations in the carpet where the Steinway's legs had stood for 10 years. On the kitchen counter, a receipt from Morrison's Piano Exchange and a note. Got good price. Jake's truck comes Tuesday. Be happy for your brother. Dad. $42,000. They'd sold my grandmother's Steinway, my future, my soul, for $42,000. Split between a lifted F, $150 and court fees for a drunk driver. I called Mrs. Petrova, sobbing so hard she could barely understand me. She drove over immediately, took one look at the empty room, and said words in Russian I'd never heard before. Pack your things, she ordered. You stay with me until school starts. I can't. You can and will. They've stolen your future. Don't let them steal your present too. But the damage was deeper than just losing an instrument. Without consistent access to a quality piano, my playing suffered. The Juilliard scholarship required maintaining my level through senior year. The school uprights, abused by hundreds of students, had dead keys and broken pedals. Mrs. Petrova's piano was beautiful, but in her studio 20 miles away. Too far for daily practice with my work schedule. My audition for Juilliard that spring was competent, but not transcendent. The committee noticed. You played Chopin's Ballade No. 1 at Carnegie Hall with extraordinary maturity, the lead judge commented. Today it felt careful. What changed? How could I explain that greatness required more than talent? That it needed consistent access to an instrument worthy of the music? That my parents had sold my ability to practice for a truck that Jake had already dented twice? The scholarship went to someone else. Someone whose parents saw music as a future, not a hobby. I attended State University on partial academic scholarship, majoring in accounting because at least that's practical, according to my father. I played when I could, practice rooms squeezed between classes, community center pianos on weekends. But the spark that had lit Carnegie Hall dimmed with each passing year. Jake wrecked the second truck too. Then a third. His drinking accelerated, jobs disappeared, and my parents enabled every stumble. When I graduated college, they asked if I could help with his rehab costs. I have student loans, I reminded them, because my scholarship disappeared with my piano. Family helps family, Mom said, the same word she'd used while stealing my future. I moved across the country instead. Los Angeles, where I could disappear into corporate accounting and pretend I'd never made 2,000 people cry with Chopin. For 10 years, I touched pianos only in passing. Hotel lobbies. Department stores. Each encounter was like seeing an ex-lover. Painful, nostalgic, a reminder of who I'd been before life chose practicality over passion. My coworkers knew nothing about Carnegie Hall. My friends thought I was joking when I mentioned studying with Petrova. I built a life carefully devoid of music, because music without excellence was worse than silence. Then the London firm bought our company, and advancement meant relocation. I found myself back east, just 2 hours from home but a lifetime away from who I'd been. The email came on a Thursday. The Metropolitan Philharmonic seeks pianists for upcoming season. Open editions November 15th to 17th. I deleted it, then recovered it from trash. then stared at it until my vision blurred. The Met Phil, where Grandma had dreamed of playing before marriage and motherhood swallowed her ambitions. Where every serious pianist eventually aimed. You should try, my cubicle neighbor Amanda suggested, reading over my shoulder. What's the worst that could happen? The worst? They'd confirm what I already knew, that I'd become exactly what my father predicted. Someone with a hobby, not a future. But something, maybe Grandma's ghost, maybe stupid hope, made me submit the application. Under recent performances, I wrote simply, returning after hiatus. The confirmation email included repertoire requirements. Chopin, of course. Bach, a contemporary piece. Standards I'd once played in my sleep, but now approached like foreign languages half remembered. I rented practice time at a local studio. $50 an hour for a decent Yamaha Grand. My fingers, soft from years of typing instead of playing, screamed through scales. The Chopin ballade that had once flowed like water now stuttered and stumbled. But muscle memory is a peculiar thing. Hidden in tendons and neurons, waiting. By the third week, passages emerged that I'd thought lost. By the fifth, I could close my eyes and almost feel the Steinway beneath my hands. The audition notice requested business attire. I wore my best accounting suit, trying to look like someone who belonged in a concert hall instead of a conference room. The Met Phil building rose like a glass cathedral, all modern lines and acoustic promise. The waiting room held 20 other pianists, most fresh-faced conservatory students with the hungry look I'd once worn. They whispered about teachers, upcoming competitions, master classes in Vienna. I sat silently, the imposter among prodigies. Sarah Winters, a young assistant, led me through hallways lined with photos of legendary performers. Past practice rooms where warm-ups filtered through soundproofing. To a concert hall door marked auditions in progress. You'll have 20 minutes, she explained. The panel may ask questions. Good luck. The stage was vast, empty except for a single piano. A Steinway Model D, 9 feet of possibility. I approached it like a skittish horse, afraid it would sense my decade of absence. The panel sat in shadow 20 rows back. 5 figures with tablets and the power to validate or destroy. Sarah Winters, I announced to the darkness. I'll begin with Bach's Prelude and Fugue in C-sharp major. The first notes felt like coming home. The Steinway's action responded to every intention, every memory. Bach's architecture emerged clean and precise, my accountant's brain finding comfort in its mathematical perfection. The Chopin ballade came next. The piece that had defined me at 15, abandoned at 17, mourned for 10 years. I played it differently now, less showing off, more showing up. The passages that once showcased technique now carried weight, loss, the particular grief of potential interrupted. Halfway through the development section, I heard chair movement from the panel. A whispered conference. My concentration wavered, but I pushed through to the coda's thunderous conclusion. Silence. Then, from the darkness. Stop. My hands froze above the keys. Too careful, like the Juilliard audition. Too much accounting, not enough artistry. But the voice continued. Sarah Winters. Sarah Elizabeth Winters. Yes. A figure rose from the panel, walking toward the stage lights. An older man, distinguished in the way conductors often are, with silver hair and intense eyes. You're the prodigy who played Carnegie Hall at 15. The girl Petrova called once in a generation. Where have you been? I recognized him then. Maestro Chun, the Met Phil's director for the past 5 years. He'd been in the audience at Carnegie Hall. I remembered because Petrova had pointed him out. Watch, little bird. He's the future of American orchestras. I took a different path, I managed. Why? He stood at the stage edge now, looking up with genuine confusion. That performance, I've never forgotten it. We waited for you to emerge from conservatory. Expected to see you on every major stage. Then nothing. I lost my piano. The words came out small, pathetic. My parents sold it. I couldn't maintain my level without proper practice. Juilliard fell through. Life happened. Your parents sold your piano? His voice carried the horror only another musician could understand. My brother needed a truck. A truck. He repeated it like profanity. They traded genius for a truck. Dad said music was a hobby, not a future. Maestro Chun climbed the stairs to the stage. Up close, I could see recognition dawning. The prodigy who vanished, explained by the oldest story in music. Family who didn't understand. Talent sacrificed for practical needs. Play the rest of your program, he said quietly. But not for an audition. Play it for the girl who deserved better. I played Prokofiev like my life depended on it. Because maybe it did. 10 years of suppressed music poured through fingers that remembered everything, forgave everything, demanded everything. When I finished, the panel had moved to the front row. I could see their faces now, stunned, calculating, curious. Your technique needs work, one judge noted. 10 years of neglect shows. But the musicality, another countered. That's not teachable. That's what we've been missing. Maestro Chen raised a hand for silence. Miss Winters, I have a proposition. Not for the pianist you are today, but for the one you should have become. The Met Phil has a new program. Musicians returning after involuntary hiatus. 6 months of intensive training, master classes, performance opportunities. The catch? You'd need to commit fully. No accounting. No backup plan. I have loans. Rent. Life obligations. Which is why the program includes housing and a stipend. Donors who understand that sometimes talent needs rescue, not just recognition. My throat closed. Why would you? Because I've thought about that 15-year-old at Carnegie Hall for a decade. Because Petrova called me last month, wondering if you'd ever return to music. Because genius delayed isn't genius destroyed, just genius waiting. I thought about my cubicle, my spreadsheets, my careful life built on the ashes of what should have been. My parents are not invited. This is about you and the piano. Nothing else. Yes, I said before practicality could interfere. Yes. The other judges nodded, unsurprised. Apparently, Maestro Chen got what Maestro Chen wanted. Rehearsals start Monday, he said. Petrova will oversee your remedial work. She's 78 and threatened to haunt me if I didn't find you. Don't make liars of either of us. I called my parents that night. First time in 2 years. I'm leaving accounting, I announced without preamble. The Met Phil has offered me a position. Silence. Then Dad. The Phil? Like the orchestra? Yes. But you haven't played professionally. Since you sold my piano. Yes. Turns out they remember who I was before you decided my future. Sarah, be practical. Like Jake was practical? How many trucks has he wrecked now? 4. 5. That's different. You're right. It is. He destroyed his own future. You destroyed mine. We did what we thought. You did what was easy. What benefited Jake. What confirmed your bias that music was worthless. Guess what? The director of the Metropolitan Philharmonic disagrees. Mom got on the line. Honey, we're proud of you, but... No, you don't get to be proud. You get to live with knowing Carnegie Hall at 15 became corporate accounting at 25 because you valued a truck over a Steinway. Because you chose Jake's convenience over my calling. Can we come to your performances? I laughed, bitter, a decade fermented. With what money? Jake probably needs another truck by now. I hung up on their protests. The program was brutal. 6 hours of practice daily, my hands screaming, rebuilding strength and flexibility. Petrova, fierce at 78, accepted no excuses. You think 10 years is long, she barked when I complained. I survived Soviet Union. You survived American parents. Same thing. Play. But the music returned like it had never left. Stronger for the silence. Richer for the loss. The 15-year-old's technical brilliance evolved into something deeper. Music that knew disappointment, survival, resurrection. 6 months later, I debuted with the Met Phil. Rachmaninoff's Third, the Everest of piano concertos. The piece I'd dreamed of playing before dreams became too expensive. The audience was a blur, but I saw them in the orchestra section. My parents, looking older, smaller, out of place in their small-town formal wear. Jake beside them, sober for once, uncomfortable in a suit. I played for the grandmother who left me a piano they sold. For Petrova who refused to let talent die. For Maestro Chen who remembered. For the girl who made Carnegie Hall weep and the woman who made spreadsheets balance when music became forbidden. The ovation lasted 12 minutes. Maestro Chen whispered as we bowed. The prodigy returns. No, I corrected. The prodigy died at 17. This is who survived. Backstage, my family waited with flowers and awkward smiles. Sarah, Dad started. That was worth more than a truck, I suggested. He flinched. Good. We were wrong, Mom admitted quietly. We didn't understand. You didn't try to understand. You decided my gift was worthless because it wasn't practical. Because Jake's needs were immediate and mine were artistic. Can you forgive us? Jake asked. He looked healthier, clearer. I can forgive, I said slowly. But I can't forget. Every time I sit at a piano, I remember the empty living room. Every concert I play is despite you, not because of you. They left shortly after, our relationship forever broken by a sold Steinway and dismissed dreams. But I had Petrova, who adopted me as honorary granddaughter. I had Maestro Chun, who became mentor and fierce advocate. I had the Met Phil, who gave me the career that should have started at 18. Now, at 32, I tour internationally. Critics mention the unusual maturity of my playing, the hard-won depth of interpretation. They don't know the price of that maturity, a decade of silence bought with truck payments. My signature piece remains Chopin's Ballade No. 1. I play it differently each time, but always, in the quiet moment before the storm, I think of a 15-year-old girl who trusted her family with her future. She deserved better. But the woman who emerged from her ashes? She deserves this. Every note, every ovation, every review that mentions how suffering transformed technique into artistry. My parents send programs from my concerts to relatives, claiming pride in their talented daughter. I've stopped correcting the narrative. Let them lie. The truth lives in every performance. Talent that survived despite those who should have nurtured it. The piano they sold for a truck became the foundation for a career they couldn't kill. Music isn't a hobby. It's a calling. And I finally fully answered.